Okay, so we are at 7 minutes. Welcome, folks. Happy, is it Tuesday? I think it's Tuesday. um, if you would have forced me to how sure I was on it, I probably wouldn't have bet on myself. It looks like you guys agree with me, so that's good. Um, I'm not going to spend much time framing things for you. The goal of today is to kind of immerse in AI agent building. Okay. And I'm going to give you some quick overview right now, and then we're going to build some agents. And then basically the things that I'm going to be showing you today are things that you're doing right now in your curriculum, but I'm just going to do them in front of you here just to show you that I too know how to do them. You know, we eat our own dog food. The CEO of the company is a master agent builder, not just a talking head. You know, in case you were wondering. And so I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to show you a couple of slides. I'm famous for hating slides, and so I'm not going to spend much time on the slides here, but sometimes visuals are super helpful. Okay, you can see my screen. Yes, thumbs up. Cool, thank you. So MindStudio, the platform, okay, the way we describe it is it's like this, integrated environment. In computer programming, there are things called IDEs, integrated development environments. It means a piece of software you use to build software. That's what this is. It's an IDE for building AI agents. And it's a kind of a full life cycle of agent building IDE, from building and testing and evaluating different models and fine-tuning your agents and obviously deploying them, running them in production, observing them as they're running and supervising them, analyzing them, refining them, integrating them into other, with other platforms and all of that. And so it's a one-stop shop for, building, running, and optimizing AI agents. I think I may have mentioned before, there's over 200,000 of these things that have already been built. The platform's been in market for like 2.5 years now. And these things have been deployed in all kinds of places. A bunch of them are used just by individuals. Some are used by, thousands are used by SMB, small, medium-sized businesses, enterprises, government, etc. We make it really easy to connect these AI agents with various types of data sources, right? Agents are great at being able to take data and analyze it and repurpose it and generate it and do all that. And so they need access to data. And we make it super, super easy to connect to any kind of data source imaginable from within MindStudio and connect your AI agents, okay? And then they integrate, we live in a marvelous world now. I'm old enough to remember when integrating applications with one another required like partnerships and engineering work and all that. That world is gone. Now it's easy to integrate into pretty much anything, and MindStudio takes advantage of it. And so you can integrate MindStudio with every application imaginable in one way or another, as long as they support APIs. By the way, if they don't, let me know who they are. I'd be curious. But as long as they support APIs, which is everyone, you can integrate to them. And MindStudio supports APIs, lets you expose APIs. And so they can integrate with us. And so no matter what the tech stack is of your company, application stack, or if you're like serving other companies by building AI agents, you can rest assured that you can integrate this in any tech stack that they have. MindStudio is, some people describe it as sort of an orchestration layer on top of AI models. MindStudio doesn't have any of its own AI models. Okay, we don't build any AI models, but we integrate with any AI model available. Right out of the box, meaning as soon as you join, we support over 100 models from all the major providers whose names you know: OpenAI, Anthropic, Google, Meta, Mistral, Perplexity, etc. We're adding new ones, sometimes multiple times a week, sometimes every day, sometimes every couple of weeks, but constantly adding new models. Obviously, this is already off. And these are text models, image, video, voice, code, computer vision, like all of those things, okay? And then when you build these AI agents, you're basically describing to the AI agent what it does, its behavior, its responsibilities, and you describe it to that by putting together these, we call them workflows, by creating these workflows and step by step explaining to the agent how it's supposed to behave in various ways, right? And then it's a visual thing. Again, if you haven't played with it yet, we're about to build some agents here. You've come to the right place. And so you'll see these little boxes, these like black and blue and other colored boxes. We call these blocks. And so you arrange blocks in workflows on this canvas. It's really straightforward to do. My 11-year-old son still struggles with spelling, but he's a master AI agent builder. Because with AI agents, you can actually misspell everything and the things still work perfectly well. You know, this is the world of AI we live in. And so as long as you can understand logic and workflow, that's what's required. He understands that well. You can have these agents running as like solo agents, you know, lone wolf, maybe we call them, lone wolf agents, or they can be part of a pack. They can work together in unison with other agents. And they can be supervised, for example, either by you human or supervised by a supervising agent. And then the supervising agent supervises a bunch of specialized agents that do things. This is, we call this architecture, and depends on how you want to architect this is how you might want to do it, okay? Okay, and that's kind of it on this that I'm going to take you through. It's enough of that. And now let me show you quickly some examples of some AI agents, and then let's go ahead and build, you know, a few of these AI agents ourselves. And so these are just some examples that I'm going to show you. So on the right-hand side here, I have this little thing. This is here because I've installed the MindStudio Chrome extension. If you go, you say MindStudio Chrome extension, you will find in the Chrome store the MindStudio Chrome extension, and you click here to install it. I obviously have it installed already, so I've got a remove button, and that's it. And once you do that and you log in, you're going to get this little button over here, okay? You can move it around, drag it around. You can click on it, and that opens up the side drawer right here. And in the side drawer are a bunch of agents, over 100 agents that are part of our agent store. Now, let me open up a new tab here. Let me go to MindStudio. Again, once you're logged into MindStudio, you'll get this button, My Workspace. If you click on that, here you can build new agents. You can watch our curriculum and do all that. And on the left-hand side here, you've got a tab here for agents. This is where that agent store resides. And so all of these agents that we see here, we're also seeing right here in the sidebar of this Chrome extension. Again, when we click here and open that up, that is what we see here, is all those same agents that we saw there, okay? And then we can just run them directly from here. Or if we use them all the time, they're our favorite, we can pin them. And pin means I don't even need to open up the side drawer. They're just like available to me with a click of a button. And I have some agents pinned here, and I want to use some of them here for you right now, okay? And so what is this? This is like a long read, okay? And I love long reads, but, you know, ain't nobody got time for that. And so instead of reading, I can just push this button. And what's happening now is the Chrome extension is grabbing all of the content on this page, and it's sent it to my AI agent. And this AI agent, which, by the way, we will build here in a few minutes, this AI agent is specifically given instructions to extract all the key learnings from whatever it is that's sent to it. And as you can see here, what it's doing is it's as if I read all of this and paid attention and took notes. Well, I don't have to do that now. This thing did that for me. And now I can make a copy of it. I can share it. You know, by default, it's private only to me, but I can make it unlisted, share it with my friends. I can make it public, whatever. And then another thing I can do is I can chat with it. We'll chat with the next one I do. Okay, so cool. So I'm going to close this tab. I'm going to close this. Let's go to the next one. So this is a YouTube video. Okay. And so this is a 2-hour and 11-minute YouTube video. And same thing, like I like watching videos, but videos for work, like I want to understand what they're talking about, but I don't want to invest 2 hours. I don't even want to invest 1 hour at 2 times speed. I can push the button And what this agent knows how to do is it knows how to find this transcript over here. And it grabs that transcript and it sends it to my agent, same button, the same agent. And it extracts all the learnings. You see, it's still extracting all the learnings. So like, what's faster and easier? Is it faster and easier for me to watch this and pay attention? Or is it easier for me to click this button and wait a little bit for it to extract all the learnings for me? And again, then I can read them. I can send them to my colleagues, whatever. I can ask questions. For example, I could say, extract all people mentioned. By the way, I don't know if they mentioned any people, but I don't need to know. This thing is going to go and it's going to extract all people mentioned or all entities mentioned. You know, they talked about Neil Armstrong, it seems. Yuri Gagarin. I was born in Russia. I lived on Yuri Gagarin Prospect. That was my address. See? Famous Russian astronaut, cosmonaut. Okay, so this is how this button works. You push a button and you get this. Okay, let's continue. This is a Twitter thread. If any of you still use Twitter, instead of reading this Twitter, you can say, why are American jobs declining? Well, you can just push this button. And you don't have to read all that junk. Let the models read it and give you all the reasons. So you can just read this and not be exposed to all kinds of other things you might not want to be exposed to. I've got another button that's specifically made, again, this one is on Twitter, but I could run it anywhere else. There's like a social profile. This is a human, Gary Tan. So I've got a little button here called Twitter Profile Analyzer. Again, I could actually run it on a LinkedIn profile too. So I should rename it to call it People Analyzer. And this same thing is I can click on it. And again, if I wanted to, let's say, reach out to Gary and talk to him, and I wanted to understand, like, who is Gary? What does he care about? Yada, yada. I could spend hours trying to understand them by reading all of this junk. Or I can simply push a button, and this thing helps me understand, who is he? What does he care about? What does he talk about? Who are the people that he's close to? What organizations does he care about? You know, all of that stuff. This intelligence that I have with the click of a button, this is superpower. You see, mere mortals cannot compete with that. Are you following me here? If I can consume 100 hours of YouTube content in an hour that they could never consume because nobody got time for that, I have an unfair advantage. And I do. And it's trivially easy to build. Okay, a few more demos before we start building these things. So these little buttons work on anything you find in the browser. This is a 182-page financial disclosure from Goldman Sachs. I can rack my brain trying to understand this, or I can simply push this financial analyst button. Now, I'm not going to push it. It takes like a minute to run. And, you know, like it spends a bunch of time, but it does the same thing. It grabs this thing, it analyzes it, and it does a fundamental analysis. We will build this button here in a few moments. We'll build this financial analyzer live. More examples. This is a, LinkedIn. I think this job expired. Great. Let's take this one. Here's a job post. Okay. And so if I was looking for a job, one of the things I've always hated, fortunately, I rarely needed to do this, but when I did, I hated it, is to write like cover letters for these jobs, right? Well, I don't need to do that anymore. I've got a little button, and I simply click this button on any job description on any website. And this button just says, upload your resume, and I can just give it my resume. And so it knows what the job description is. It now knows what my resume is. And it generates a custom cover letter for me that makes it clear that I'm obviously fit like a glove for this job. I've got news for you. I'm also fit like a glove for this job and every other job. Because I'm qualified to do them, but I didn't have to write the cover letters. I just push a button to do it. Again, unfair advantage. More. So this is just a database. This is an Airtable database. You could use Google Sheets. You could use whatever you want, any kind of a database. This is a database of venture capitalists. I've now raised over $140 million in venture capital for 3 companies that I've built. So I know a lot of venture capitalists, but it's always nice to know more, okay? And it used to be that if I wanted to, go and try to find some more VCs to, network with, reach out to, etc., I would go to like LinkedIn and I would search for like managing partner venture, and I'd find some, VC, and, I would read up about them, and then I would click connect, and I would try to like write some note to them, and then mostly crickets, because they just get overwhelmed by stuff. This is not the way to reach VCs. So I don't do that anymore. What I have here is I've got a little button. It's called LinkedIn Contact to Airtable. And I just click this little button. And that's it. I can go on. I can go to this other one, for example, and I can click that little button again, and I can close this again. I can go on, and I can go to some other, and you get the point, and I can click this little button again. And what I'm doing every time I click this little button is I'm triggering this thing to go and do what? It extracts all their data. It gets their name, it grabs their photo, their current job, the current company, their professional summary, all their education, their key experiences, their latest posts, obviously linked to their profile. And then it also goes off and enriches that, and it finds their email address. By the way, that email address is not in their LinkedIn profile. It goes off to another service and does it, and it grabs their, and so now either I or my agent can go and harass them via email until they respond, you see? And this is much faster and easier than doing it the old-fashioned way. And again, this is all with the click of a little button. I'm going to stop here because there's a bunch of other things. Let's build some of these buttons, all right? Let's just go play, okay? And so I'm just going to go to MindStudio. And now make sure you don't blink, because if you blink, you might miss it. That's how fast we're going to do this. I'm going to click My Workspace. I'm going to click Build New Agent. I'm going to click here, and we're going to name our agent TLDR. There are many other things we can do here. I'm not going to do any of those. I just named it. Agents are made of these things called workflows. You can have many. This one's just going to have one. Workflows have a start, they have an end, and they have things in the middle. Workflows need to be triggered somehow, and we need to choose how they're going to be triggered. In this case, we're going to make one of these buttons. So we're going to say it's triggered by the browser extension. We can also make it scheduled, runs automatically, or we can send emails to it. We'll make one of these in a second, or other ways. Here I'm saying browser extension. And then here I'm just going to say plus, and I'm going to say generate text. Now there's actually many other blocks here that I can choose from. We'll come back to this. We'll just choose this first one. Whoops, generate text. And here we are. So what have we done so far? We named it. On the start block, we said browser extension, and we clicked plus, and we chose the first one here, generate text. Here it is. And now we're on this generate text block, and watch what I do. I'm going to type extract all learnings. You could say summarize this, TLDR it. What is this thing talking about? So I'm just going to say extract all learnings. And then here, I'm going to type double curly braces. I'm going to make this bigger so you can see it. These are called curly braces. You know, they're on top of your enter button if you don't know where they are, okay? And then here, as soon as I type double curly braces, you see it gives me this little drop down. I'm going to pick this little variable here called page content. Now, the reason we have this here actually is because when we say that this is triggered by browser extension, we automatically get all of these things available to us. What's available to us is the URL on which page the button is going to be clicked, all the metadata, and then this page content. That means all the content on the page. And so that's all we're doing is we're saying extract all learnings, and then we're just giving it this page content. And we're done. We just built this agent. We're going to say publish. Okay? And this agent is published. And now, by the way, if we wanted to, we could open up this agent, and this agent just has this URL. And it says you can just type in the URL of whatever it is you want me to extract all learnings from. But also, as you can see, it says this agent's actually designed to be used in the Chrome extension. So we actually don't want to run it this way. The way we want to run it is that old way, which is like we're on some website. We're on a page, that same page we were on. Here, I'm going to click on this, M. And here, again, we have a concept of starred. You can star these agents, means favorite them. You can pin them, and that means they show up here. And then if you scroll down, here are agents that you've built. So here's that TLDR agent we just built. And so I can just say run. and it's going to grab all this content and extract all the learnings from it. And again, the same agent, works on, YouTube videos. And so we can go to, again, any YouTube video and then, whatever, here's like more Lex. And then we can click here and then we can run it. And now it knows how to find the transcript and it's going to get. By the way, if we wanted to pin this, we could simply click here. On the right-hand side here, there's 3 little dots. And then we could say pin. And if I did that, it would just show up right here for me. I'm not going to do that, okay? But you get the point. There it is. That little thing that we built. Look how easy that was, right? And by the way, with this pattern that I'm teaching you here, where you simply say new agent, you give it a name, you choose browser extension, you give it this generate text block. It's the first block on the top here when you say plus. Give it generate text block, and then you give it a prompt, you give it a command, and then you give it the content, this page content variable. With the same pattern, we can build countless AI agents just with this. If you just remember how to do this pattern, you can build countless tools for yourself and your team that will transform your life. Let's do that again. I'm going to open up a new tab. I'm going to go to MindStudio again. I'm going to say my workspace, and I'm going to say build new agent. And here I'm going to call this agent financial analyst. And then I'm going to close this. I'm going to click here. What am I going to do? I'm going to say browser extension. I'm going to click here. I'm going to say generate text. And then I'm going to say analyze, I'll say do a fundamental analysis of this stock. And then I'm going to give it double curly braces, choose page content. And I'm going to publish that. And now I'm going to open up a new tab and I'm going to go to, any page that's got something about a stock like this thing or Yahoo Finance or, wherever you want to be, wherever it is. It could be a PDF, it could be whatever. There's a bunch of stuff. You can use your brain to do it. Or if you don't mind your brain atrophying, you can just make a bunch of buttons. And then there's our financial analyst, and we can just run that. And now it's going to do the financial analysis for it. Now, what's the difference between this financial analyst and this learnings extractor? The only difference is what's the command I gave it? And of course, its name, but it doesn't care about its name. Okay? And so that's what I mean. This pattern, browser extension, generate text block, give it a command, and then give it the page content. You can build countless applications with that. Okay? And then again, you can complexify them and you can say, well, I don't want it to be financial analyst. I want it to, do something else with that. And so maybe let's go ahead and make another one. Again, I'm just going to riff with you randomly here on building a thing. Let's build a content generator, okay? Because, LinkedIn is important and some of us don't have time to come up with interesting posts to create on LinkedIn. So we're going to make ourselves an agent that helps us create LinkedIn posts with a click of a button from any interesting piece of content that we found. Sounds complex? It's not. Let's do it from scratch. Again, don't blink. Build new agent. I'm going to call this, content to LinkedIn. Cool. I'm going to give it an icon here. Let's see if I can find an icon. I'm just going to put this guy right here. And so that's going to be our icon for it. It's going to be our agent. His name is Jonathan. Cool. I'm going to keep this one. We're going to stick with the browser extension for now. Later, I'll show you how to build some others. And so watch what I'm going to do. So again, the way this agent's going to work is we're going to have a button. We're going to click it on any piece of content, on a YouTube video or an article or a PDF or whatever. And the first thing it's going to do is it's going to understand what that content is. And we already know how to do that. We can simply say, generate text. And again, we could actually use that exact same prompt I had. I like saying extract all learnings. Again, you can use whatever you want with this. You could say, outline all the key points, enumerate all the things that this content is about. You choose. I'm just going to say extract all learnings, and I'm going to give it this page content. And here, we've never looked at this before. The default behavior is to simply display the output to the user, back to the user. We're not going to do that. We're going to change that. And we're going to say save to variable, means store it. Store it for us because we're going to use it later. This is just the first step of what we're building. We're going to save it to the variable, and I'm just going to call this learnings, because why not? Okay, you can call it anything you want. You can call it data, you can call it bullet points, you can call it whatever. Okay, cool. And so now we've got these learnings. Now we're going to continue. I'm going to click plus again, and I'm going to use another generate text block. And here's what I'm going to run. I'm going to say, take these learnings and write a LinkedIn post about them, okay? And then here, I'm going to use the double curly braces, and I'm going to give it the learnings. Now, are any of you confused yet about what I'm doing here? Show of hands. What is this learning? No, I see Peter saying he's not confused. Great. So we have a variable now called learnings. We created this variable right here by calling the model and asking it to extract all learnings. And when it extracts all the learnings, we save it to this thing called learnings. And now we have this variable called learnings. And we can now use that variable in future blocks. Like this next block that we're using it in, we're once again calling a model. It's another model call. And we're saying, take these learnings and write a LinkedIn post about them, okay? And we're giving it the learnings. Same thing here. I'm going to change this to be safe to variable. And I'm going to call this, what should I call it? I'll call it post, because that's what this is, right? Take these learnings and write a post. So that what we're going to get back is the post. Now, I already know that I need to put something else in here. But I'm not going to tell you just yet, because I don't want to confuse you. I want you to experience it on your own. From best practices, as you build a bunch of these things, you'll realize, oh, I should include something else in this prompt that I'm not including. We'll come back to that. Okay, so now we've got the learnings. We've extracted the learnings. We've sent those learnings to a model, and we said, take these learnings and write a post about them. And now we're going to do the final thing, is we're going to click plus, and here we're going to say view all blocks. And then we're going to scroll, and again, you can see there's many different kinds of blocks here. I'm not going to confuse you with all of them now. They're actually not confusing. You can look through them and understand them. You can read about them as part of the cohort. You will learn about these, but I'm looking for this create LinkedIn post block. I could have also searched for it. I could have just started typing LinkedIn. There's my create LinkedIn post. And here it says, well, you need to pick an account to which you want to post. You can have many accounts on LinkedIn, and you need to log into that account. If you've never done that with, before on MindStudio, you'll click on here and say add connection, and you'll need to log into LinkedIn. And once you're logged in, you have access to your credentials. So I just need to choose mine. I can change visibility if I want. And here I get to put, what is this thing going to post to LinkedIn? What do you guys think I should put in here? Double curly braces post. Does that make sense? Thumbs up, thumbs down. We'll go through it again. Okay. So let's look at this. We're going to start. We made a browser extension. That means it's going to be available for us to click a button on any page. Cool. We call a model and we say extract all learnings, and we give it this page content. Again, we get that because when we say browser extension, it says, I'm going to load up all these variables for you with data from that web page. And the data we care about is the page content. That means all the visible stuff, all of these things. If you did Command A, it's all of this stuff. That's what's stored in page content, okay? And we're going to take that, we're going to send it to a model, and then we ask it to extract all learnings. We store it in a variable called learnings. We then call another model, and we say, take these learnings and write a LinkedIn post about them. And we give it the learnings that we just created here. And we store that in a variable called post. What comes back from the model is stored in a variable called post. And then we use this create LinkedIn post block, and we just say, here's the post that I want you to post to LinkedIn. And then again, we can publish this and run it. Okay. And it will, but before we do that, instead of doing this, I want to show you another, it's a pattern of building agents and something you should know about that's helpful in doing. So we already actually created, again, this agent. I know it's going to run. I know it's going to work. But just so you guys, as you learn to build these, understand a good practice is to potentially, in these steps right here, right after this first step, before the next step, I could click plus, and I could put in another block. And this block, instead of generate text, is the display content block. And in this display content block, I'm going to use it to display to me when I run this. It's going to stop the execution of this, and it's going to display something to me. And I'm going to get it to display to me this learnings thing. I want to see what's in learnings. And so I can just say learnings. Okay, so by putting this in here, does anybody know what console.log is? Anyone seen this before in computer programming? Some can? Okay. Console log is in JavaScript a way for you, when you're writing code, to be able to see what's stored in variables, basically. And so this is our version of console log. It's called display content. So I'm going to put these display content blocks between these things, just so we, for the purpose of, again, for education here, so we can see what's stored in these variables. I'm also going to put one right here after this thing right here. So here we create the post. I'm going to click here. I'm going to say display content. Yeah, I'm just going to move it here just so we can see that these are different. Display content. In here, I'm going to display post. And again, each one of these is going to stop execution and show us what's stored in this. And then after this, I'm not going to do anything because we'll just look at the post on our LinkedIn profile. Okay. And so I'm going to run this right here. Okay. So I'm going to publish this. And then I'm going to go back to this thing. Let's go ahead and just, again, play with this. And again, I'm going to close this. It's not pinned. So I'm going to click here. And then there's that content to LinkedIn thing we just made right here. And I'm going to say run. And so what is it doing now? It's running the agent, okay? And this agent execution queued means the networks are busy. Sometimes we got to get in line and wait a little bit. By the way, I'm going to take advantage of this and show you the debugger. On the left-hand side here, we haven't played with these at all. Mostly it's on Explore. There's also a section called debugger. Oh, it's waiting for the thing to run. Agent queued. Sometimes, by the way, you can also just say new run. Sometimes you can get in front of the, don't do this too much, but you can get in front of the queue sometimes if you do that, if the network is busy. And so once this thing starts running, it will show up in our debugger, and you will see this thing running, and we'll get it. Again, we live in a world where periodically these networks have issues. Their infrastructure is still shaky. In this case, we're using Claude models. By the way, we can also change those at any time and run those and do that. Come on. Sometimes I feel weird that I get frustrated that like I have to wait in line for things. So this is a practice of Zen. In the meantime, are there questions that we can take while we're running this thing? Again, sorry about that. We can also click here and get notified when this thing runs and does it. So let me go back to this, and instead of us looking at that dumb screen. Is this making sense so far? Yeah.
Dimitri, there's a couple of questions in the chat kind of related to the things that you're building, and I think it would be valuable to.
So maybe I'll stop here for a second. We'll come back to the run. So you guys can see me. And then, so what are the questions?
Yeah, so I think there are a couple of folks who are asking a little more about variables, like where they get stored. Like you said, that gets saved. Like, what does that mean? Where does it get saved? Can you just explain variables like one more time, please?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, let me share my screen and we can see this. Okay, so that thing started running. And again, we're inside here, and we're looking at the contents of a variable, right? Let's go back to this thing right now. What we did was we were on this page right here. We clicked the button, and that's great. It went through this block, and then it went to the next block. And then we use, again, generate text block, another name for it is run, call a model is the technical term. Call a model, send a command to a model. It's as if you were talking to ChatGPT or Claude and you said extract all learnings and you copied and pasted all that text in there. That's what's happening here, okay? And then when it comes back with the result, when it prints it out, instead of printing it out to us, it puts it in this variable called learnings. Does anybody not know what a variable is? Like the idea of a variable? Show of hands. That's okay if you don't. There's nothing wrong with that at all. Okay, so it sounds like all of you generally know what a variable is. A variable, think of it as like a word. It's a word. You pick the word. In this case, I picked the word learnings. And in that variable that's named by the word learnings, we store a value. And so it's a way of storing information with a label on it. And the label is called learnings, and the information that's stored in that label, in this case, is all of the content that comes back from making this first call. And in fact, if I go to that debugger now, and we can look at this, we can see actually what's happening behind the scenes. And so we can see, I'll make this a little bit bigger. We see the run started, and a bunch of things got initialized, okay? These are also variables. I'm going to skip these for now. And then the first thing that we do is we call a model. And you see we're calling the model, and we're sending to the model, extract all the learnings, and we're sending it this page content, okay? And then it comes back to us, and it says, here are the key learnings from the essay. 1, box office trends, per capita movie admissions. And so all of this data right here is what is now stored in our variable called learnings. And in fact, if you look at this, here are the key learnings from the essay. This is exactly what this thing says right here. Here are the key learnings from the essay. So all of this text right here is currently stored in the label, in the variable called learnings. Okay, and we can use it later, because later we're going to say, hey, take all of this data and use it again. Again, right now we're paused. We're paused in the execution of this right here, because I said display content. We're currently on this step right here. It's displaying the content to us of what? Displaying the content of what's stored inside of this variable learnings. And that's what we're seeing on the screen right now here. This is what's stored inside of that learnings variable right now. Now, when I say next, what's going to happen? It's going to move on. It's going to go to the next block. And the next block it's going to go to is this block. And what this block is going to do is it's going to call a model, again, generate text. These blocks are different. This is a display content block. If I click plus here, this block over here is this third block. But this block over here is the generate text block. It's this first block. They're different. They kind of look the same because they're both black, but they're completely different blocks, okay? Different types of blocks. Generate text means call a model. Display content means just print something out on the screen and pause. Okay. And so now we're going to go to this next step. And the next step is going to call a model, and it's going to send the command to the model saying, take these learnings and write a LinkedIn post about them. And then we're going to give it all of the content that is stored in this variable learning. So we're going to give it all of this text right here. So the actual call we're making to the model is simply going to look like, take all these learnings and write a LinkedIn post about them. And then it's going to replace all of this with all that text. The model is going to see all of this text right here. Okay? We'll see that in a second. So I'm going to go ahead and say next. And as I say next, again, now we're calling the model, the next model. We can see this thing running. There it is. It's calling the model. It's waiting. And now it's come back from the model. Okay, and again, it's set to the model, take these learnings and write a LinkedIn post about them. And the model has come back to us, and it's come back with a post. We can see it here in the debugger, but of course we can also see it here because we said print it out, okay? It's a little small here, but like you can see it. It says, here's a draft LinkedIn post, okay? Now there's a problem here, right? It says, here's a draft LinkedIn post. And so you remember I told you I already know that there's going to be a problem? What I was pointing to is I know there's a high chance that it's going to say something like this, and I don't want it to say this. I just want the post, right? And so what I should have done is in this step where we generate the post, I should have added either here, it doesn't matter. You'll see later, it doesn't matter where I add. I could say return only or provide only, write only. Return is sort of a technical term. Return only the post and no other text. Or don't say anything other than what the post is. You can say it in your own language. These models are really good at understanding what you mean. It means don't give me any other fluff. Return only the post and no other text. Okay? Again, you can change the wording of this just as long as the model understands what you're saying. And again, we'd need to republish and run it. So the next time we would run it, it wouldn't give me this thing right here. It would just give me the post. And now, by the way, if I say next, I'm going to do it. And now I'm just going to go to LinkedIn. And then if I look at my profile, well, here's our post. See, that's the post we just made. Okay. I'm going to delete it, obviously. But now we've got this button that we can be anywhere. We could be reading things that are interesting to us. We read blogs. And whenever we see something interesting, we push a button. And that creates LinkedIn content for us. We watch a video, we think it's interesting. We push a button and create LinkedIn content for us. We can also continue here if we wanted to. Watch this again very quickly. Oh, I see a question. Sandakan, do you want to ask a question?
Yeah, just a quick question. I did this exact kind of agent because it was one of our homework assignments and it worked pretty well. The only thing I noticed was it posted it 3 times. So after I posted, I made sure it was there. Then I went back to delete it. But then I saw people kept liking it. So I went back to see what was going on. And for some reason, it made the post 3 different times. And I was just curious to know if that might have been just a glitch or whatever, or
yeah,
maybe
I mean, it's impossible for it to have done that 3 times unless you ran it 3 times with the button. So there's no way it could do it 3 times. So it could have
Okay.
been a glitch somewhere in your whatever using of
When I published it. Okay.
or whatever. Yeah, but there's no way it could do that from here. Meaning you
Okay.
could do it, but you'd need to run a loop and do that. But without doing that explicitly, you wouldn't need to do that. Okay, cool. By the way, if we wanted to also have this exact same button, then continue. And we could have it also, and again, we could put it either somewhere before this or after this. We could do it linearly. We could also take generate text and call another model and say, take these learnings and write a, tweet storm about them. And once again, pass it, the learnings, not the context. And change this to be called save to variable. And again, I could call this, tweet or tweet storm. And then we can use the view all blocks, X, Twitter. Oh, I think what was this thing called? Never keep it straight. Create X post. And now here we could say tweet storm. So now if we push the button, not only is it going to post to LinkedIn, it's also going to post this tweet storm to Twitter. Okay, so you can keep going and going and make these buttons extraordinarily, comprehensive, if you will. It's probably not the best way to do it, so I'm going to delete this here for us, but you get the point. Okay, some more stuff that I want to show you here quickly. If you go to my workspace, meaning your own workspace, and instead of building a new agent, if you click on the left here to a thing called agents, and so again, here you will have your agents that you've starred. Starred means when you ran them, one of the options you get when you run an agent is you can click on these 3 little dots and you can say, star it or remove it from starred. This is a functionality we have. So if you want to star it, that means favorite it. You can do that here. You can pin it or unpin it. If you pin it, it shows up again here. So you never have to open this thing up manually. And so that's what start is. And so start shows up when you go to this agent. These are your start agents. It also shows you the agents that you've built, 192 more of them. This is my demo account, okay? But mostly when you're first starting, you will get these. There's over 100 of these agents that are here. And you can just browse through them and you can run them from here, or you can make a copy of them, okay? And so I'm actually going to show you one just to kind of blow your mind a bit, to show you that with the same pattern, like this deep research agent, if we run it, it has a form. This is, in fact, well, we kind of don't have time. So maybe in the next session, I'll show you how to build these user inputs. It's really easy to build these forms here. So it's the form says, what do you want to research? It also has this like multiple choice. Do you want to include a 10-minute podcast about the report that it's created? And then you hit next. So that's the interface to this agent, is to say, what do you want to research? And also pick whether you want it to generate a podcast for you. But the way, and then this agent runs and does deep research. It does like Google searching and things like that. If I click make a copy, I've just made a copy of this agent. And as I mentioned, agents are made of workflows. You can have one or many. This one's got whatever, 8, 10. And this is the main one. This is the main flow of this agent. It has a start, it has an end, and it's got a bunch of things in the middle. And again, this is our copy. We can rename it, we can modify it, we can delete it, we can do whatever we want. And this is a great way for you to just like see how these things work. You can go to that agent store, make a copy of it. It's free to make a copy. Just make a copy and then click on these things and see, what is this? Oh, this is a generate text block. And then you can see what it's doing here. Now you know this is just a variable. This request is the user's request that we get from this other block there, okay? And then it calls another model, generate text. By the way, you see this is called enrich request, build research plan, but we actually don't have a block called enrich request. This type of block is actually just a generate text block. But when you click on a block and you right click on it, or command click, control click, you can rename them just so you better understand what they do. And so these all have been renamed, but this is just our friendly generate text block. So is this just a friendly generate text block. This is another type of block called user context. This is another generate text block. This is a type of block called run workflow, where it runs one of these other workflows. And then this is a JavaScript function that gets run. So again, this is, as you go through the curriculum, as you play around more, as you inspect these other agents that we've built that you can make a copy of, as you spend more time with this, you'll start to realize that you'll very quickly grok the basics of it. The basics is create new agent, choose the trigger, put some blocks on it. As you build it, test it. If you don't understand, ask a question, we'll help you. But all of you are capable of building these kinds of things from scratch. And then also, as I just showed you, you can find agents and make a copy of them and do it. It could be an agent that you've built already, and now you want to build the same kind of agent, but a little different. Great, take the agent you've already built, make a copy of it, modify it, now you've built another agent. Like, meaning, you remember I built the TLDR agent, and then I built the financial analyst agent? I could have simply made a copy of the TLDR agent, but there was like only one block. It didn't make sense to just make a copy. But if I wanted to, I'd make a copy of it, and then I didn't have to put that one block there. I could have just simply changed the text, changed what it's called, published it, and I'm done. And so once you get comfortable with that, that's the place we want to get you to as quickly as possible. And again, just that stuff that I taught you with that one block. Choose browser extension, add a generate text block, give it a command, and in double curly braces, put in page content. You can build unlimited number of magic buttons that you can use in your work and build it for your friends and colleagues. And then later, like, play around with that for a couple of days and like blow your mind and blow the minds of everybody around you. You are already a master AI agent builder just from that one thing. You can do the impossible. You can do things that nobody else can do. None of your friends can do this. Build a little button that you can push anywhere that does something magical like that. It's amazing. Take advantage of that. Play with that. And then later you can get to the more complex stuff. You know, don't rush through it. Does that make sense? Yeah. And this is what I mean by, like, some people are like, well, I'm so tired. I want to go to sleep, but I'm just going to build one more, because you can build one more in a couple of minutes. And it's like a little, you know, Inspector Gadget. You got a new thing in your tool belt. And that saves you mental energy. And that gives you superpowers, right? That's crazy. Get to this point. Get to the point where you feel comfortable with that one pattern, and then move on to the next. Okay. Enough ranting. Yeah, are there more questions?
There are a lot of questions that are not necessarily related to this masterclass, and so I just want to quickly thank everybody who's been participating in the discussion in chat and answering those questions. We're not going to answer those here on live for everybody. If your question didn't get answered, please ask it in Slack. As far as questions related to what we've taught here today, yes, those questions have been answered.
Well, valuable time spent. Did you learn anything that you didn't know before? You know, what about OGs, or, you know, people who have been in this before? Did you learn anything else here today? Yeah, okay, cool. That's what I mean. Kind of the more time you spend with this a little bit, you pick up a little bit from here, a little bit from there. And then all of a sudden you're like, okay, I get it. I get it now. Yeah. At least that's the way I learn. I need a bunch of examples. And so I'm going to kind of treat you guys the same way. I'm going to assume that you're as dumb as I am. Chances are you're much smarter. but I figure if I treat you as treating myself, then I'll capture all of you. Yeah. All right, guys. Hey, one last thing. Well, a couple of last things. Thank you again for letting us, you know, giving us this time. Your time is super valuable, and we don't take it for granted. Okay, so thank you for meeting us here and doing this. We appreciate you guys, again, being here. We appreciate you guys engaging with each other. We appreciate you posting to LinkedIn and getting everybody excited about that. Please keep doing that. That's super valuable. It helps you stand out. It helps us get attention. We live in the attention economy. Yeah, our company benefits from attention. This platform benefits from attention, and you benefit from attention. Take advantage of that. I know people are posting in that Just Posted group. Do that. That thing is magical. You know, that's not the value of this class for you, but that's a huge value of this class for you, is that you get access to that group where together you can, you know, game the algorithms. You can game the algorithms to do that. That's really valuable. Let's take advantage of that. All right, guys, be well. We'll see you maybe tomorrow.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.
And see you in Slack. Take care. Bye.